Everyone, and welcome to the Freelance episode 17.
17. Oh
17.
my
We've been
word.
doing this for a while. The beers that I bought Nick at last Tewkesbury are definitely run out by now.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll have to look into that. My name is Zach, if you haven't joined us before, and I'm joined by Nick, who on my
Good
screen
evening.
is there, and Isaac, who on my screen is there. So yeah, Isaac, you're the new one here. You've been in the chat before, but this is your first time guesting. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, okay. I'm Isaac. Yeah, I've been LARPing since I was 16, I think. So
2 years
it's
ago.
been 11 years. 11 years.
Okay.
Oh, your youth.
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to be in the group that Zach is joining, hopefully, for Empire. You're coming at E3, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so at E3. So I'm kind of founding member, and
Yeah.
that's kind of
Great. So basically, there's this large LARP, which if you've been following along with the live streams, it's called Empire, and there's lots of different factions, and then there are subgroups within those factions. Isaac is within the Wintermark subfaction, and I'm going to be joining. And I don't know a huge amount. Isaac knows a lot more, so he's going to help me build my character today. Nick, you are a LARPer as well, but you are in another faction. So
Yes.
It,
I'm.
yeah.
You can.
No, I said to you about doing this, and you were like, "Oh, I'll be able to help a bit," but
Yeah.
Yeah, the different sub factions have a lot happening.
Yeah, they're essentially different. Like they're different nations that are drawn from almost entirely different kind of fantasy and historical points of view. So Nick's in the Marchers, who are kind of like 100 Years' War, medieval England, and
Yeah.
I'm in Wintermark, who are a lot of Rohirrim. You got nations. You've got Urizen, who are a lot more kind of like elves and wizards. So there's the nations are very different and the cultures are very different. So yeah.
Okay.
It's been an interesting thing because I have not been LARPing as long as you. I'd say I've probably been LARPing maybe since about 2018, 2019 and on and off, and I've been playing Empire for a year now. And I'm just starting to get my eye in where I can pretty like spotting Wintermark, Marches, Dawn, League. That was easy to me because that's basically recognizing historical reenactment period kit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm now getting to the point where I feel like I can make a pretty good estimation of recognizing what factions everybody's from.
I imagine you
from
would
the
be
other.
pretty good at recognizing the orcs from the get-go as well.
Oh yeah, and the Imperial Orcs, yeah,
because they've got masks on and stuff.
Yeah, the
But
prosthetics are a bit of a giveaway. Yeah.
There are some of the nations are quite difficult to tell apart on the field in kind of the ideal world. Like if everyone followed the brief like to the letter, it would be a bit easier. But obviously people have restrict like all kit is aspirational. At LARP, it's not like a reenactment or a living history where like you have to be within. There's aspirational requirements at LARP. There's not like you have to be of this standard, otherwise you can't come. Which is nice, but it does. I mean, there is a basic rule of like no obviously modern clothes, no like jeans, that kind of thing.
And there's a few things that are like explicitly called out as not appropriate.
Yeah, they're very much trying to encourage a particular look and feel for each of the different nations, so it's easy to tell apart.
Yeah. So, so I've chosen a particular nation, and we'll go into more detail about this later. George says hi, but he says he's not got time to be with us today, but will
Yeah, they're
probably
on pilgrimage. I think they're doing a little in kit pilgrimage.
nice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I'll look forward to George live commenting tomorrow. If you're watching this back and you're not with us live, still drop comments because a lot of this stuff can change if I realize I've made a massive mistake. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to be doing stuff live, but it can change if it needs to. And Alex says hi. Hi, Alex.
Evening, Alex.
Also an Empire chap. If you
Yes.
go to Empire, then say hello and well, say hello here, and also say hello when I finally get there at E3. Okay.
Which feels like it's a long time away, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
I've got 3 shields to make for then, so yeah, I gotta.
Yeah.
Including.
Well,
yours.
that's a good link. You know, Isaac doing the hardcore streaming work to link us into our next thing, which is to talk about projects.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Isaac, tell us about your project. You said you've got 3 shields to make. Tell us about these shields. Is this LARP or what?
I make LARP shields. Because there was only very few people who were making LARP shields to the kind of stats that I'd like, to the specifications that I'd like, and eventually I just thought, oh screw it, I'm going to try and do it myself. So yeah, I make LARP shields, and I also tailor chainmail. So yeah, so those are the kind of I do both on commission, so they're kind of my ongoing projects. And I've been kind of gearing up to making. So up until now, I've been making shields with without any bosses on, so kite shields and heater shields, because basically I don't know how to do the latexing. I can't figure out how to do the latexing. Most LARP weapons and LARP swords are kind of foam covered with the latex. I've just been doing shields with canvas because I think it looks better. There's a bit of a weird obsession in LARP of making everything out of foam and latex when you don't really need to. So I thought, well, these shields didn't, like, foam and latex doesn't look better than canvas, so I'll just do them in canvas. So it's plastic with foam over the top, with canvas over the top of that, leather straps and stuff. I try and make them look and feel as kind of realistic as possible, going from a lot of historical sources in terms of like the strapping arrangements and that kind of thing. Try and make them feel right. So yeah,
because the latex looks really shiny. You can tell a LARP shield because of how shiny it is.
Yeah, and I've there's been a long while where I've been kind of editing and changing my LARP stuff. So like I figured that if you get a fairly plain looking LARP sword or whatever, you can just paint it with Warhammer paints, and you can create a really nice looking intricate thing that you can't get underneath the latex. A lot of the LARP weapon makers struggle with getting really fine detail underneath the latex.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been kind of editing and changing stuff, and currently one of my, obviously I want to do, I've got, you want a kind of oval round shield with a boss, like Eden shield. So that's going to be an interesting challenge for me. I think I've figured out how to do the bosses and a boss grip shield. I'm pretty sure I've got a couple ways I can try. So yeah, once I've got yours done, I've also want to do one for myself as well, like a domed one.
Yeah.
I've been suckered into doing kind of early Anglo-Saxon period, although all of my stuff is late Saxon by certain people in a different system.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with my projects. That and the chainmail.
Cool. Yeah, I've also been making stuff for LARP, but not necessarily for me. So I had some leather sticking around, so I've made a half breastplate out of leather as stock, because one of the things that we'll talk about when we get to character creation is that my character is supposed to be an armorer. So I figure I need to make a bunch of armor and hopefully sell it. Because I think, yeah, I, I enjoy thinking about armor. That's probably the side of reenacting and jousting and LARPing that I've really kind of got into. So yeah, um, this one I'm kind of thinking it's a bit like, the archery chest protectors that protect the left hand side when you pull
Oh,
the
I haven't
bow
seen
back.
this before. I've seen the wrist ones. I don't know about the chest protectors.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking along the lines of patterning out and kind of making an idea for um, different styles. So this would be like the archer,
Mm-hmm.
where the left hand side is protected because that's the side that's closest to the opponent. Um, and it will also protect, even if you're wearing really baggy clothing, it will protect your string from fouling on the clothing. But you only need the protection on that one side.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one that I'm wearing at the moment is my shield wall one. So I'm thinking if you're fighting in a shield wall, um, you have your left hand side towards your opponents. So it's up armored on the left hand side, and less armored on the right. And then I'm thinking of another one that would be, I might call it like the Berserker or the Huskar one, which is designed for people with two-handed weapons, where it's kind of up armored everywhere because you're not using a shield in addition to it. So thinking like maybe uh, mail along the shoulder straps and double breastplate. Um, so
Orica thing where they've got the the
Yeah.
mantle of mail on the shoulders. That's cool.
yeah, that's the kind of thing, and just kind of think about it from in the world of Empire, and particularly in the nation of Wintermark, how would armor develop differently than armor in our world?
There's some things you should take into account with, where in the mechanics of the game, you need like certain coverages in certain areas in order to get like the benefits of the armor. So for example, if you want, let's say, heavy armor or any armor, to achieve a tier of armor protection, which gives you extra
Yeah,
hits, you need it to cover your torso and an extra location. So the extra location would be torso and your head, or torso and your arms, or torso and your
hmm
legs, or torso and half arms, half legs. So
yeah,
it needs to cover a certain amount of you in order for you to get the benefits to count as medium armor or heavy armor or whatever. So that might be something to
yeah,
take into account when you're designing stuff.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, I think helmets are key to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I don't. I think I'd finished this one in our last live stream, hadn't I, Nick? I'd already
Yes, you have.
finished my helmet. I've learned a lot of lessons in making it, but I'm really pleased with it.
It looks great.
And one of the one of the weird things about designing armor in Wintermark is that the Wintermark brief says leather and mail is the big part, um, but we're in a world where plate armor exists. So to kind of make something that uses plates, but also when you look at it looks like leather,
Mm-hmm.
is the overriding theme. So yeah,
Windsor
um,
in particular has a culture around like artisans and their the prowess of the I don't know, the artist or the maker of things. So um, it does talk a little bit. I mean, this might be a bit outdated. I haven't read the wiki in a while, but it does talk a lot about how if there is like metal, it will be tooled or embossed or engraved, painted, I think, as well.
Yep.
To show the personality of the wearer and prowess of the maker. And does talk about, like, I think basically the way of the pictures they use for reference are the ones where it's like metal covered in like tool leather, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've done stuff like even on the back plate of my breastplate, it's got lots of tooling and things like that. I just remember in Lord of the Rings, Theoden's actor. You know what I was going to say. What am I going to say? Go on.
Scales on his scale armor were all engraved on the inside, right, with stuff.
Yeah, and they'd lined his breastplate with leather as well, and embossed the inside. And he was like, "There's no reason they should have done that from a filmmaking point of view, but it made him understand the character."
Yeah, it makes you feel the kind of gravitas of the item that you're using and the worth of the item. Yeah,
it's one of the things that I find super satisfying about my harness, and why I struggle with wearing like poly plate. Not because I think that like there's a problem wearing poly plate. It's great for the game. It's great for accessibility. I don't feel like I'm wearing armor. And that negatively affects my personal play experience, to not actually feel like I'm wearing the armor and the sounds and everything that goes with it. So I can kind of, there's definitely like a personal aspect here that I can understand why they would do that for somebody who's like playing like a really critical character to a story and wanting to get inside what it's like to exist in that world.
Yeah, it also affects things that you don't necessarily consider, like the way you move, and the way you hold yourself. If you're wearing armor for a while, you've got to stand up tall and straight, otherwise your back's going to kill you. You know, even if it fits, you're carrying weight, so you've got to stand tall, and you've got to, you know, it's like subconscious things that affect how you stand and how you move, and your gravitas because of that.
You feel more invulnerable in a proper armor as well, don't you? You just you behave differently because you're like, yeah, I can deal with this.
Yeah, when you're,
this is not a problem.
This is something as well. I did an SCA event a long time ago, actually. Now I think I was seeing the Facebook memories for 5 years ago. I did it with George and a friend of ours called Rachel. And obviously I'd only ever done like LARP fighting, so and HEMA. And then you got to go into SCA. I mean, it wasn't ideal. I was using a lot of borrowed armor, so a lot of my kind of agility was kaput. But putting the helmet on, full face helmet, or a close helmet with like a bar grill or whatever, and the feeling of being enclosed in it makes you feel like a tank. You feel so powerful, and you're just like happy, even though there's gaps and stuff and places where you can still get hit and it will hurt. You feel like totally way more confident in just like throwing yourself into it. So it's a psychological thing as well. Even in mail, the gloves, I know you've mentioned before, the gloves are the first thing you take off right after a joust. Because but I've got full kind of 13th century mail that ends in gloves that they're leather gloves with a slit in the palm, but the mail goes all the way down the back of the fingers and around the thumb, and having those on just makes you feel, I don't know, something about gloves makes you feel very martial.
It's like we're ready.
I always fight in gloves, even in LARP, and it's still I don't feel like I'm ready to go fight until I've got like the gloves on, and you know, the weapon, like it's just different sensation and everything that goes with it.
So Nick, have you been doing any projects?
I have. It's been quite a whirlwind, like house projects and other hobby projects as well. But I made a new shift for Rosie, because she'd been having to borrow one for a couple of events, and it was just like eventually got round to it, got things patterned up, and that was a new challenge because I have not made garments for women before. I don't often do garments that have gauze in, and because it's an undergarment, and I will hand finish it, but I was using a sewing machine, which I don't often do, to do like the main seams and the structures. So it was all quite a learning experience for me doing that. And then I've also on and off been working on a mix of cleanup from events earlier in the year that were wet. So I had to like clean, re-oil, re-wax all of our footwear.
Drive tent.
I had to de-rust my male standard from where it ended up in a puddle at E1. Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
that makes me sad.
It was brutal. Like the male shirt also ended up in a puddle, but that was so heavily oiled, nothing.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But the male standard, where it's 10 plus years old, and I've not oiled it as regularly as I should, that was orange and fuzzy.
I do have some tips. Have you already done it?
Well, I think like I have used a brass brush, oil, and just went to town on it to get all the surface stuff off, and then I've re-oiled it and everything. Yeah. The problem I was running into is it's very hard to manipulate because it's got the padded collar.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to fill the padded collar with oil.
Yeah. So if you've got unlined mail, a lot of the time I found the best thing to do is get any remaining grease off it. I just use like fairy liquid in the sink, get all the grease off it, and then just leave it in a bucket of vinegar. You can buy vinegar off Amazon, like 5 litres of vinegar for like £2.50. You just leave it in a bucket of vinegar for like 2 days. It gets rid of all the rust. You've just got to be careful about re-oiling it afterwards because it can flash rust. If you can dry it real quick and then oil it again, you're good. Which I've had to do to my mail an embarrassing amount of times. I had to do it like 3 or 4 times just because I had to oil it properly.
I was in a good position that my armor was in a sealed crate and was also pretty oily even after wearing it, so it did not get wet at Empire, the like armor itself, so that was fine. It was really like the biggest casualty was the male standard, but the boots needed a lot of work. And then I've been making replacement tent poles for the group shed that we've got, because one of those broke at E1 as we were putting it up, not because of the weather, just because the pole was knackered. And making a fresh set of poles for our IC shop, but so that we don't have to like cannibalize other tent poles and remember to bring them. We can just have a set that's there to use. So it's been busy, and this weekend is going to be no different. Like, I'm very, very, very sad that Barnet was cancelled.
Yeah,
but it is nice to have an extra weekend to get stuff done.
Yeah. So should we jump to events? Because you and I were going to go to Barnet, and Barnet was cancelled.
Yes. Unfortunately, the weather has produced unsafe ground for them to run the event on. So, and they were unable to find a suitable date to reschedule it during the summer. So it's unfortunately not happening this year, which I am very, very sad about because I was very excited. But these things happen. And then we've got E2 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, hopefully. You guys. Hopefully. Yeah. I'll not be there, but so I had serious FOMO for E1, and then the weather was absolutely terrible. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of okay about missing this one.
It was a different.
So I'm I'm hoping that you have better weather this time. I'm also like hoping that I don't completely like go green with envy about not being there yet. But as you said, July will come around soon enough, and I'll be at E3. I was going to take my son, my 5-year-old, to Barnet this weekend, and as Nick said, it's been cancelled. So we're gonna go camping somewhere else.
Nice.
Just hopefully make that a bit better. Better than just sitting around wishing you were somewhere. What about you, Isaac? You got anything else
So,
planned or?
I mean, I've got Empire plans, obviously. If I, if I can get myself together for it. And then also bookings open tonight for Dom Nonny, which is another event I go to. It's down in Devon. I really enjoy it. It's kind of the opposite of Empire in a way. It's a small LARP, or smallish. There's basically no real rules. It runs on just like a really good player ethos, and a good setting. And there's a group there that I've kind of gone as an NPC quite a few times. I've crewed it and played a kind of recurring NPC. And I'm kind of getting to the point that I really like the NPC, and there is reasoning game where I might be able to just start playing that character as my character.
Cool.
So that might be a thing that I do. But also with some of the people in that group, particularly a guy named Brian, who's a friend of mine. We are thinking about putting together a little group to go to Germany next year and go to Epic Empires as an early Saxon group and join the kind of Noralag camp, which is the kind of northwestern Dark Ages European camp. So I don't know like Saxon there, so it could be really cool English. So there's a cool kind of like translation role play that can happen.
Yeah.
In the very early stages and early works. It is going to mean I'm going to have to make and buy more kit, but that's the eternal struggle of LARP, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Well, Dynami Chronicles has been talked up to me and is on my list of things to try and do at some point soon.
Afford to go and just go and crew it. It's one of the most fun things to go and crew, and they've got all the kit. And it's not like Empire crewing. You're not like kind of OC as orcs. You're playing NPCs. You get like talking roles. It's a lot more story driven than Empire, which is kind of too big to have like personal story arcs and small group story arcs going on. So it's a lot more kind of story driven in that way.
Yeah. The my problem is more finding another weekend.
Yeah.
Finding time to do another weekend away.
Yeah.
Got
real
a wedding
life
coming up next year and 4 weddings this year, and
we were talking about being just before we started streaming about how being an adult is relentless. I think with Nick's quote, which I think we can all identify with in our own little ways. Matt says hello. If you're still in the chat, Matt. That was a long time ago.
Oh wow, you missed that.
Yeah, and Texas Beast says, I think there's a question for you, Isaac. They want a custom decor boss for a LARP round shield. Can a new foam boss be superimposed over a smaller existing one? I would imagine so.
Have not yet made a shield with a boss, so cost me a year when I've done some and got some under my belt.
I would probably, and this is with zero experience, but zero experience foam crafting, but a reasonable amount of experience crafting. There's something called foam clay that is used a lot in cosplay for things like that. So if your LARP shield has already got a suitable boss and you want to upgrade it, maybe try using foam clay to sculpt something over the top of the boss that's already there.
The problem with the foam, if the foam clay would adhere to the latex that's already there, assuming this is like a fully finished like latex foam shield with a latex boss, most of the customization I've done is painting, and I use like metallic paints and stuff, and you can actually get a really like good strong effect. But adding on, I would maybe do a test piece on the back of the shield where people aren't going to see it, and just see if it adheres properly. The other thing would be like if you intend to latex over the top of it, that can be its own whole difficulty, which is the reason I don't do any latex stuff yet. But yeah, I mean, you can always
Latex
just
can be
go on a small bit and just see how it goes with that foam clay stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Research. We normally do it in another order, but I've not really done much research. I got into reading. Do you know Harry Harold from Empire? He
Oh, really?
posted up uh, a blog from one of his LARP writer friends, and so I kind of went down that rabbit hole for a little while, about how different, yeah, and it was really interesting about how to write a LARP and how different things that you can use to make them work. It was really interesting to see about that. And also, I know Harry from reenacting, but I know that they the thing that made me start reading this blog was an article about using LARP to teach, which is my day job. So that was interesting. Like how to, it was teaching World War II using a World War II LARP, of like a LARP of being in one of the operations rooms in the Battle of Britain.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool concept, and I got lost down that rabbit hole.
I think learn from it's almost like going to reenactment. Like there's a lot you can learn from watching other people do it, but being kind of put into that world. If everyone out, there's a collaborative kind of theatre that's going on, collaborative storytelling. Being part of that storytelling can bring history to life, or anything to life, I suppose, if you're teaching through that medium.
Yeah.
There's a something that I've loosely been working on with a colleague, and it's in kind of like discussions and trying to figure it out. But using role play as like a template for team building and playing on strengths and that kind of thing, and not to get too kind of business workplacey on our hobby call, but there is a whole lot that you can learn about how you set things up in a professional environment, from how you have to go about setting up your constraints and your red lines and your flags and all of these sorts of things from LARP environments that translate over to that and like make for better workplaces because you have these discussions and because you do these things.
Yeah.
And it's like we've been trying to figure out like the best way to kind of, because what I want to do is just want to have like make everybody play like D&D or other role-playing storytelling games, right? Just be like, no, just like professional development is just go play these games with each other, but you can't just like tell people to go figure it out. You have to like show them and lead them and support them and these kinds of things. And so there's a lot more to it. But I suppose that comes down to one of the things that you were saying about running a LARP. It's the same as running any role-play game. You can't just shove stuff in front of your players. You have to.
You've got to
show them what they can.
The right kind of. Because it's a collaborative storytelling, you've got to establish at least some kind of like continuous agreed upon, or even if it's not officially agreed upon, but like a vibe that everyone's like in on, and that they can go, oh, I kind of get this. It's supposed to be like this, and we're all trying to make it like this. Because when there's that clarity of like of a vision or brief or whatever you want to call it, and people come in with very different ideas. You see it often actually with brand new LARPers coming to an event. Like, for example, let's take Empire. Brand new LARPers come to the event. They think LARP is a certain thing. They think LARP is going to be like Skyrim or like a D&D game or whatever. And they want to play, for example, a rogue, black clothes, hood, two little daggers or something, because that's really cool in like a game like Dishonored or something like that, where that kind of stuff like, yeah, you're the main character, that kind of thing works. At Empire, they get to Empire, they've got the stuff that looks a bit like that, and then they find that they go to the battle and just get mullered by a bunch of guys with spears, and it's like, it doesn't work really. And in the kind of like hidden Aragorn in the corner of the tavern and not interacting with people, because you're not a main character. There's 2,000 main characters there, or 3,000 main characters there. You know, you've got to go out and interact with people in a way that's gonna fit the kind of the setting that everyone else has kind of, you know, agreed upon or non-officially agreed upon. So it takes a lot of events sometimes for people to kind of get that and go, oh, okay, I've got to go and ask people about things, and they've got to ask me about things, and I can't just have like a shady, edgy backstory, like, you know, because people aren't going to, you know, nobody comes around and asks you like, what's your backstory?
Yeah.
And it's also a thing that that like you saying Aragorn as an example, something I find really interesting, because even him as a main character, his first action, like, yeah, they see him in the corner, but they don't want to go talk to him, because why would you go talk to someone who's just like sat in the corner on their own looking really grumpy? Like, no one's going to want to talk to you. He becomes involved in the Hobbit story because he takes that action.
Yeah.
Like, that part is kind of often missed, I think, which I think is a really good call out on your part, that like it is different to what you think it's going to be when you go into a game like this. And I think the other thing that Empire, to an extent, and I'm guessing like a lot of big LARPs have the different kind of nations or sub factions or whatever it is in your particular LARP for a reason, because the people who are in your nation have some kind of shared experience or vision of what's going on. Because one of the things that I've often run into a problem with is when you're trying to play role play games with people who aren't career role players, for want of a better word, if they don't have the same media background as you, like they haven't read the same books, they don't play the same games, they haven't seen the same movies, it's actually very hard to do a cooperative storytelling thing with people that don't have shared media backgrounds with you. And I think I don't want to go off on a massive spiel, but like books over media from that perspective, like the people who've read the same media you will have, I find for me personally, I can riff much better with people who've read the same things than people who've watched the same things as me.
Yeah. I think it's partially why there's a whole written wiki there's a whole written wiki on Empire, on all the different factions, and also each of them says like, oh, the influences are drawn from here and here, like, you know, the Rohirrim from here, or you know, this particular period in history or whatever. So it gives people like something to latch onto, and there's so much there, and it's not just like one thing. It's like, for example, if we're talking Steiner in Wintermark, which is kind of like one of the peoples of Wintermark who are kind of, they're mostly like Anglo-Saxon, Rohirrim based, and it's like, yeah, there's a point in history and there's a point in fantasy that most people kind of have an idea of, and that's a kind of, you know, that'll catch a certain amount of people who want to do that kind of thing.
And the nice thing about the way that's set up is that it's an opt-in thing. So it's entirely up to you in character creation. So like if I'm joining Wintermark, I can't complain that I don't like the aesthetic because you know, that was my choice.
Yeah,
right?
You can go and join another nation if you want. You could even kill off your character halfway through the event and go and join another nation if you want. You know, you don't even have to die in character. You can just like go to the team and be like, I'm not feeling this. Can I change all my skills? If it's your first event and you're like, what I wanted to do doesn't work, you can just change it. Or you can be like, you know what, this nation and stuff isn't really for me, but I've been walking around and I've seen those guys over there in the league and their landscape kind of looking kit. I really like that vibe and I want to go over and do that instead. And you can just do that.
But you know, that's never going to happen though, is it? Really?
Well, one day. I mean, if we are eventually going to get into it, but I might as well mention it now. The concept for the Edgelings, which is our group within Wintermark, kind of originally was if like Landsknecht were like Huskarls.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like it's
Flashy.
we're mercenaries who go out and we're adventurers and we're well known, we're famous and we're proud and we show off in our clothes and our jewelry and everything.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of Rohirrim Dark Ages is
Yeah.
the clothing and setting.
Okay, so you're placing all of these really good links in. Let's do that then. Let's talk about the character and let's start developing the character. Before we do though,
We made 40
I-
minutes before we started the main topic, Zach.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's great.
So yeah, we just need to say thank you to my patrons, and yeah, if you want to help me buy more beer for Nick for when I next see him, then you can join the patrons, or you can um, leave a thanks, or is it called a super thanks on YouTube? I think it is. And tell you what, any super thanks that come from this video, I will give directly to Nick in the form of liquid.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
And I'll share
Okay.
them with Isaac when I see him.
Yeah.
There's a question which I can't answer because I just play Empire. But Isaac, maybe you can, before we dive right into Zach's character. Question from Matt asking, do the material requirements, like the push towards leather and mail, feel restrictive, like not being able to wear plate where others can, that kind of thing?
No, because mechanically in the game, this is another thing you actually might want to pay attention to when you're making your own armors. Within the game, mail and plate have no kind of mechanical difference. They're both classed as like heavy armor. So
yeah.
Although in the real world, obviously there is a significant difference between how the armors act and the protective nature. In the game, there's not. And they changed the rules a little bit fairly recently to try and make leather more of like a viable option as opposed to like a composite kind of on top of heavy armor kind of.
Yeah.
They've armor used to just give you extra hit points, but now leather armor gives you a hero point as well, which is like a special call that you can do in the middle of the fight. So it might be that you do the call and it makes you knock someone over with your weapon or something like that, or you can cut a armored location. So
Cleave.
With cleave, they've tried to buff the other armors, so it's a viable choice, which is an interesting decision that I don't necessarily agree with. But yeah,
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing because one of the things that I've been thinking about in thinking about my my armor and my kit for Empire is how for a lot of history we see that mail is basically fine until you get to extremely powerful weapons. And with like mounted lance charges being the real one that really starts pushing people towards going, yeah, mail's not enough.
And the big bows.
Yeah. But whether the larger bows come about as a response to plate, is it because people are using long bows for a long while, and certainly you would need to have a massive bow for it to have the same kind of effect as a lance. So yeah, in the world of Empire where there are no horses, I think plate and mail having a similar effect is quite understandable because really the plate is better, but most of the weapons are just handheld. It's not far beyond ancient warfare from a
Mhm.
And the really
from a-
important thing in the game about wearing heavy armor is that you don't get one shot by an arrow.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you might get hit in the limb and then your limb's taken out if you're not wearing armor on the limbs. But I choose not to wear any armor on my forearms or on my legs, other than the kind of the skirt of the mail. For mostly because the aesthetic I'm going for is very much like a historical aesthetic of like the 10th, 11th century, where they just didn't have that kind of armor. But
Yeah.
secondly, I find that a lot of, especially for you'll know, Zach, for lower legs. In fact, you both know for lower legs, greaves, you need them fitting right, otherwise they're just a pain. They just like sit on your ankles, and they're just, so it's hard to get stuff that fits right. And same with kind of forearms. And I feel like I can learn more. Going back to the teaching thing, I'm learning a lot myself. I feel like I can learn more about maybe how in history they would have fought by wearing the equipment they would have fought and using using stuff that they would have fought in. So that's just me, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I like harness.
I do too. I just can't afford them yet.
so yeah,
It's
because
been a long process for mine.
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing about why we're all doing the same thing, but we're doing it for different reasons.
Mhm.
And part of why I'm doing this is to do something that is non-historical, that is creative in the point of view of creating my own armor, and is different to my 15th century stuff, which I've been doing an awful lot for more than half my life, like 20
Mhm.
years basically. And so that means that although yes, the kind of the mail and leather look of Wintermark is restrictive in a certain way, that's actually what I'm looking for out of this, and that's why I decided to go with that instead of, and the playing it on easy mode would be for me to just turn up in my 15th century harness and
Join the marches or dawn or something.
join the marches. Yeah. But that's not what I am doing this for. So shall we have a look? Because I've kind of played with this a little bit, but then I kind of thought I don't really want to do it all by myself because I didn't understand a lot of it.
Okay.
And we can talk about things as they come up, because you and I are, so Nick's from a different nation.
Mhm.
But you've gone through this reasonably recently,
Yeah.
this process.
And I've helped a few new marches through this process in our group.
Great.
So I've seen the character creation template quite a lot recently.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then Isaac, not so recently, but you you are of the same nation
Mhm.
as me, and we're going to be in. I'm joining up with the Acelings, your group. So
I feel like it
so
would be a
I'm
good
on the
idea.
Profound Decisions
Sorry.
website.
I think it would be a good idea to add, if you open the wiki page as well, so you can look up anything you don't know.
Okay, that's a good point. So there is a Profound Decisions.
The link is on the page that you've got.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, at the bottom.
Middle left.
Yeah,
There you go.
Okay, let me open that in a new. I'm going to put that in a different window so you guys can't see it, but I can read it to you if need be. Okay, so by the way, if you're in the chat or if you're watching this back, then do comment on this if you've got something to say. If you think you've got a good idea, that's kind of why I wanted to do this together, is so that we can come up with some with the best possible character for what I want to be able to do. So on the Profound Decisions, that's the company that runs Empire LARP. You can create a profile, and then you can create a character. So I need to go to create Empire character, and then this comes up. This wizard, not Isaac, but the mechanical wizard, guides you through creating a character for Empire. Process is divided into 4 steps, and we must complete the steps in order. If you need help at any point, I will ask Isaac or Nick, and let's go. So, nations. So there's a bunch of different nations.
First challenge: find the winter marker.
Right. I'm having a look. I think so. Wintermark can be tricky to spot. I think because they've got 3 separate like mini nations within it. But this is it. There, Wintermark, right? So reveling in battle, the indomitable winterfolk stare down every threat with their heads unbowed, for they know that death is only the long sleep before the dawn. So that's the nation I've chosen. That's why I'm.
Do you know what? I've never read the Marches blurb on this page. I have no idea what it says about Marches. I just like hit the guy with the bill, went to the next step.
Okay, let's have a look. So this is the nation that Nick's a part of. There's 10 nations, so we're not going to go through them all, but let's have a look at the Marches. Marches work hard for everything they have, stubbornly protecting what is theirs. Nature is their servant, bound with menhirs and iron plowshares. So they're kind of medieval Europe, but also late medieval Europe,
But
mixed
also
with like
folk horror.
yeah, yeah, and they're kind of okay, but we're going with the best nation, which is Wintermark. Now, okay. So I was expecting there to be a choice of the 3. There's 3 sub factions within Wintermark.
No, so yeah. So there is the Suak, the Calabasi, and the Steiner. The Suak are kind of they're kind of based off like Inuit and like Sami kind of peoples. They're kind of further north. In fact, the picture that's on the screen, the little character there, I believe is a Suak. So it's kind of like big fur coats, that kind of thing. Hunters, that kind of thing. The Calabasi are kind of a bit more like early Dark Ages, shamanic kind of looking. If you think they
Late Bronze
normally
Age,
have
early
like
Iron Age.
yeah, they normally have like animal feathers and like bear hats and all of that kind of thing. Yeah, so that they're probably the most fantasy of the 3 peoples. And then the final one is Steiner, who we've talked quite a lot about. They're based off of kind of Saxons and Rohirrim.
Right. Yeah. So the Steiner will be the ones that I'm joining. That's also Isaac. You're a Steiner as well, aren't you?
Yep.
But on the wiki, it has a kind of it for all of these nations. It has things that influence the design choices of that nation. And for Steiner, it's Rohirrim from Lord of the Rings. It's Anglo-Saxon, which is kind of cheating because the Rohirrim are based on the Anglo-Saxons anyway, and the Nords from Skyrim.
Yeah, they wanted to avoid Vikings, basically.
Yeah.
But still have a historical element in there, which is why they said Anglo-Saxons.
Yeah. And so that's the one that I've gone with, because if you've visited any of my streams, you will know that I am obsessed with the Rohirrim and Theoden in particular. So okay, so that's the character that I'm going for, and as we get to the skills, we need to think a little bit about who my character is. So the Steiner kind of like to excel in anything that they do, don't they?
Yep.
And my character is, because I love armor, I want to really focus on armor, and so I'm going to be an armorer, so a Steiner armorer. So I think probably the first place to look would be under crafting skills.
Yeah. So what I would say is one thing is worth putting in here is you do not need a skill to wear armor in Empire.
Okay.
or to be someone who makes and sells armor within the game, like OC, like out of character. If you, for example, you've actually physically made armors and you want to bring them to the game and sell them in the game, whether that's for in character money or real money, whichever way, you don't need to technically be like, your character doesn't have to have the artisan skill to be an artisan in the game.
Okay.
Basically,
Artisan.
for is,
Oh, you're going to say the same thing, Isaac. Go for it.
for is basically making magical armors in the game, like magical items. They're just ribbons basically, but they denote that something's magical. Now, if you want to tie your like kind of your character's job with like the magical skills of making magical armor, then yeah, go for these. It involves some like out of character management of resources. So
don't like the sound of that.
So you get, like, in the game you get resources and you use those resources to make stuff like magic weapons and magic armor that have in-game effects. So that's what this crafting skill does.
Okay. Right. So that then maybe that's not the route I want to go down, because whenever we play D&D, we're one of those despicable groups that don't even keep track of how much money we have. Resource allocation is not
you
not
like
something.
Some of it anyway, just in terms of having money and buying some things. Trading.
Okay, so how much of the game is about like, if I were to pick the artisan skill, is that going to, am I going to need to start a spreadsheet basically?
No, but one of the things that comes with artisan skill is that you would then have to pick the items that come with your pack at your first event.
Okay.
Now that's something like you can do the reading for and like that kind of thing, and like it basically boils down to like, what boring magic item do you want, what medium magic item do you want, and what really cool magic item do you want, and you have progressively less time left on the thing that you pick. And the other thing that as an artisan that is worth pointing out specifically for you is being an artisan allows you to mend people's weapons on the battlefield if you have access to the right stuff.
Okay. So there is a like, in the moment.
Yes. So there's an ability that people can do, which is called Shatter, which breaks weapons or shields, and that can be repaired by an artisan using a resource called Artisan's Oil to repair it.
Okay. All right. So that sounds pretty cool. That as a combat character as well, that sounds like a pretty useful thing to have. Okay. How many points do I have to spend?
I think
8. Okay.
Oh, we lost Isaac. No, go for it. You were just breaking up.
You lost Isaac completely. He looks frozen to me. Let me see if I can send him out and get him back. Oh, maybe. Right.
My bad.
Yes, you're back. I can hear you now. Or maybe not.
One thing that I think is a no-brainer for you, Zach, while waiting for Isaac to come back, is you wanted to fight with a shield.
Yeah.
So go to combat skills and pick shield.
Oh, okay. So that needs... Wow, that's 2 of my points is shield. Yep. Okay. That's it.
Right.
That seems interesting. There we go. Isaac's back.
I think I'm back. Yeah. Give me just a sec.
Yeah.
I was basically going to say, before I got rudely cut off by my terrible internet, that I think it comes down to, you might have moved past it with the crafting stuff, whether you want to role play as as someone who makes things, i.e. pretend you're that person and act like you're that person, or whether mechanically in game you want to be able to do the things that mechanically an artisan can do. And I think
Okay.
that's kind of where you're at.
Okay. So
We took a detour while we were waiting for you to come back,
Yeah.
because I realized that Zach is getting a shield, so he probably needs the shield skill.
yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I quite like the idea of making magical weapons is neither here nor there, but being able to fix stuff on the battlefield, I think, would be a cool skill to have.
Fair enough.
Oh, but that costs 4.
Yes.
Ugh. Am I running out now then?
You have
Do I
two
Well, it
need
more.
depends what other things you.
Yeah.
It depends what else you want to do, right? So basically, the way I look at it is, you've bought the skill that allows you to do the thing that you want to do on the battlefield, which is to fight with a shield. You do not need a skill to fight with a single-handed weapon.
Yeah.
But for me, as like building a marcher character, the thing that I wanted to do on the field was to use a bill. So I had to buy Weapon Master, which is kind of a similar thing.
Okay.
If you want to use
And
spear
like,
and shield, you've got to use the Weapon Master. You've got a Weapon Master to use pole arms, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very true.
I'm happy with just a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think you've established that you're not interested in the magical game or the religious game or the like healing game.
Yeah.
So then
Right.
the only other column that you might want to take something from is the heroic calls, which are, again, mostly combat oriented. They are things that you do when you bonk someone with your foam weapon.
Okay.
And
so you need to buy
again,
heroes.
yeah, if you
So I
buy
need to-
hero, so it's either do you want to do hero things or do you want to do artisan things, is kind of where I like see the divergence point here.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you haven't got enough points to do both initially. So the hero skills go back onto the hero tab. I can read through them. So you've got Stay With Me, which are the end of their hits. You can and they're like bleeding to death on the ground. You can pick them up with like heroic encouragement. You've got Get It Together, which is a kind of a I believe they've changed it now so that you can heal someone's like broken limb if they've been cleaved. Is that right, Nick?
I think so, yeah, and
Is
certainly
that or you give
you
them
can
more
heal
hit
them hit
points
points.
while they're standing up, while they're alive?
Yeah.
Relentless allows you to repair your own limbs through roleplay, like you just like pop your knee back in or whatever if you've been cleaved. Unstoppable lets you pick yourself back up from the floor if you're bleeding out. You have to do it like immediately, but you can kind of summon strength and get back up.
Or just heal yourself.
Or just heal yourself, yeah. It's been a while since I read some of these.
Yeah.
Cleaving Strike, if you do a cleave, it's a call basically. And if you hit an unarmored location, or I think it's less than leather armor, so like unarmored or like textile armor, light armor, you disable the limb. Or if you hit them on the torso, you just drop them.
It is the mage killer.
Yeah, Mortal Blow is kind of that, but the next level up, you need to use a two-handed weapon to do it, but it goes through medium leather armor, but it's still stopped by
critically, you cannot do Mortal Blow with a pole arm.
You can't.
Okay.
Yeah. And then coincidentally, all arrows do impale or the mighty blow, mortal blow by default. So if you get hit by an arrow anywhere that you're not wearing heavy armor, it's either going to disable the limb or kill you, or knock you down so you're bleeding out. And then the last one, Mighty Strike Down, you basically, it's only done with pole arms, and you can, when you call it, you knock someone over with it. So you can roleplay it in a number of ways. You can kind of roleplay it as you hit them, you trip them, or you just hit them really hard and knock them over. So yeah, that's Strike Down. think cleave is the most fun personally, but the other ones are quite useful for supporting each other in a unit or being kind of pretty army.
It's a regular debate among us polearm users, certainly within the group I'm in, as to whether cleave or strike down is the more useful. And I've always gone with you can cleave someone with your sidearm.
I think it depends on the situation. For example, recently we were in a skirmish where the enemy were like really well armored and they were really strong. It was what are they called? The blue people, the new baddies. Cold Sun, thank you. They were basically they just storm through your formations because they got so many hits and they're so powerful, and they heal up after you knock them down. If you knock them over, they're just getting back up. So strike downs kind of blunts the initial charge, but they carry on coming. Whereas if you hit one in the leg with a cleave, they're stopped and they're not getting back up. They're coming at you still. Sorry, they're not coming at you anymore. So there's merits to both at different times and in different situations.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's worth pointing out is having hero points and artisan, you can make weapons or artifact or magic items that give you access to the skills while you're wearing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can buy the hero points and then use your artisan skill to make yourself something that gives you one of these skills. Not all of them are available like that. Some of them are.
Okay. So do I need to buy the hero skill in order to do that?
Yeah, so the hero skill gives you a single hero point and access to all the skills. You have to buy the skills on top of it to get each skill, but
gives
you can't.
2 hero points.
Yeah. Oh, it gives you 2. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
So you get a couple of hero points. If you've got, so for example, in this state, you've got no more character points, but you have hero. It means you technically have 2 hero points, but you don't have any skills you can use it on. So you don't have any hero skills. There are things that you can do with hero points that aren't the heroic skills. So for example, there are some times where you, on a skirmish or in a battle, there might be a certain magical aura that affects everyone's role play. So there might be a magical aura in the air that affects everyone and makes them really angry. You can use a hero point to ignore that. So you're like kind of, you can use your heroic strength or your pride or whatever. However you choose to role play it, you can overcome that kind of fear aura or anger aura or whatever that might be in the area. I think there might be another use for them, but I can't remember right now.
Also,
I know of.
So, another question to metagame slightly. Hi, Red Fighter Productions. Good to see you. How many skill points or experience points do you get? Like,
you get
because it costs 2 to unlock these skills, right?
Yep.
So, is it worth unlocking access to it, and then when I get more experience points, I can buy
that could be a shout. So basically, you get a single experience point after your first event, and then another experience point after your third event per year.
Okay.
So per year, you'd get 2 hero points if you attended 3 or 4 of the events. You would only get, if you're attending both the events, E3 and E4, you'd get only 1 hero point this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also worth pointing out that because artisan is such an expensive skill, it is very difficult to get access to it later on without retraining off another expensive skill.
Yeah, sure. So it seems like maybe this is the way to go, because for me personally, I'm unlikely to be able to make 3 events a year.
Yeah.
Which means I won't be able to make. It will take me a long time to make any big purchases. So I need to really do the big purchases at the start, and then grab grab the less expensive ones.
Setup makes sense to me. I think.
Yeah.
There
And-
are magic items, like Nick said, there are magic items you can buy in game that allow you to do that you've already got. So
Yeah.
you know, you won't be excluded. You might be able to buy fairly cheaply a sword that lets you do a cleave a day.
Cool.
Or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right then. Excellent. Okay, so those are my skills. I've got shield, hero, and artisan.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was going to say something else related to this. The other thing I was saying is that even if you hate it and you're like, I really wish I had those hero skills, it sucked, I didn't do anything with my artisan stuff, you just change it after your first event. Your first event, you get to change everything about your character that you could possibly want for free.
Cool. That's good to know.
And the admin folks at PD are super helpful with that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a place you can go on the field to go and do it in the middle of the game if you wanted to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm pretty confident that this is a good way to start with this character, and I think it fits the character as well. Of like one, so my character, I'm thinking, is traveling to Anvil because I'm not the youngest person. I'm not going to be the youngest character on the field, but this is my first time at Anvil, and the idea of someone who's been making stuff for a long time, but now wants to go out into the world. You know, go away from um, the village that he's grown up in and lived most of his life in, and actually like get some glory and maybe win a name for himself. Which I think this kind of speaks to that a little bit because I've got the artisan skill there, and there's the potential with buying the ability to get hero skills, but there's not actually the skill there yet. Because I've just been making stuff, not been out fighting orcs and that sort of thing. Cool. So now I need a personal resource. And when I was first trying to make this is where I was just like, nope, I need help.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, the question is, do you want money or do you want stuff?
I don't know.
The stuff is what you would use to make other things and to trade. So, for example, with the artisan skill, you might need like, is it green iron or orichalcum? There's certain resources that you get from these different, personal resources. It's basically your character's like job outside of Anvil. So he might be a farmer, in which case he gets lots of money. A farmer and a businessman, they're basically the same thing. They just get money, which is why the Marches are so rich, because they're all farmers.
Okay.
We're not rich.
That's what they like to say, but they are. They are.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they're like the rich guys that live in Gloucestershire and wear like 30-year-old
we're
coats.
cash rich.
Yeah.
But we are not bourse rich.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of beans.
Yeah. Anyway, so thinking about you, I'm gonna pitch that you should have a business.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Also, in the case of basically most of these resources, they'll produce some things, and if those things aren't the things that you necessarily want or need, you're going to have to sell those things, which can be a fun role-playing experience in itself to go out and trade. And within the Agelings, there is quite a strong tradition of quite a few of the characters that play regularly go out and they have their little trading company and they do a lot of this stuff. We have like our own little trading guru in Dave, who plays Dalaf, and he really knows how to like gain how to do that whole side of the game where you're selling and buying and good prices and stuff. So it's easy. Like he can give you advice if you want to go out and do that and not get swindled by people. But if the idea of that doesn't really appeal to you, having a business where you just got straight up money, then you can just use that money to go and buy things that you do need, like a magic sword that does cleave or drinks,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
etc. So
So
a business wouldn't be a bad shout.
yeah. So from a character point of view, I'm thinking either business or mine is what works for the
Yeah.
idea of an armorer
So the
character.
mine would produce, like mechanically, the mine would produce various materials that the artisans would use.
Okay.
So
Jen,
if you want to lean into making like in-game items and things that have magical effects, then a mine would make sense.
gents, I'm going to have to go. Something's just come up here, but I'm sure you are perfectly capable of finishing this off.
Okay.
And I will catch up with you soon.
Alright.
Nothing dramatic. I just need to go sort some house things out that
Okay.
are in the way.
No worries, man.
So
All right.
it was great hanging out with you both. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I will catch up with you folks soon.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Sleep well.
Okay. See you later, man.
Bye. Okay. So for me, I'm thinking that business is probably the simpler option
It is,
because
and you can change later if you want to.
okay.
The
So
other
let's
two
go
that
for
we
business.
haven't really looked at, which I'll just quickly explain, is fleet and military unit.
Yep.
They basically, so I've got a military unit. My character's got a military unit as a kind of captain of other players by consent. But also my guy commands kind of a small military unit, and you can choose each season where to send that military unit or fleet. The fleet's working basically the same way on the map.
Okay.
To affect the greater game. So the armies might be fighting on a certain front. The generals might say we need people's private military units to join us here, and for that you'll get a share of the guerdon. So basically the government will hire you to go and join that flank
Okay.
or that front, and then that'll change the way the overall game works. If there's enough people there, it might be a victory, and if there's not, then it won't be. Same with the fleets. So
Okay.
I don't think they're
Okay.
really what you're going to do with your character, but I just thought I'd explain it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think that business is the right way to go. I think for this character at this moment in time, he's not. He's just starting out on his military career. And yeah. Yeah. I think mine would kind of work, but at the same time, I think the idea of I'm selling armor and I use that money to then buy
Fine.
the materials to make the armor
It
rather
makes
than
sense to me.
digging it up and making it. Who's got the time for that?
Huh.
Okay. So I need to choose some items now.
Oh, okay.
Which looks terrifying.
Okay. This is new to me.
Is
I've
this
never played a character that makes stuff.
okay?
Okay,
Right.
we can figure this out. So
So
what are the options on the drop down menus?
I can have 4 items apparently. I can have an acolyte. Are they all the same options on each one? Yes, they are.
I
Okay.
can't see them when they drop down, which isn't helping.
Okay, so there's a lot.
Right. Okay.
Acolyte's Mercy, Agreement's Bargain, Apprentice's Blade, Banner of the Bold. I think this is where the wiki comes in.
This is where the wiki comes in. Yeah, there's a magic items section on the wiki that basically explains the mechanical effects of all of these things. The real like kind of stalwarts that are the kind of ones that everyone makes and everyone wants to buy. The standards basically are in the Agelings. We use a lot of stumbleroot spears, which are spears that can do single-handed spears that can do strike down.
Okay.
Like Warriors Plate and Knightly Redoubt, they're just like heavy armor that's like better heavy armor. It gives you more hits.
Okay. So the Apprentice's Blade is the one that allows me to spend my hero points on cleave. Yeah. And okay, so that's good.
If you're gonna have heavy armor, aren't you? Because you've got mail as well as that. So
Yeah.
it might be a good idea to have. I don't know if Warrior's Plate is an option or Knightly Redoubt is the better version.
Okay. So where let me have a look. So personal magic items. What was the name of one of them? The
It would be Knightly Redoubt.
let's have a look. Knightly Redoubt. So that is crafted from orichalcum steel with wealth silver fastenings and decoration. This armor offers powerful protection on the battlefield. Well,
It's generally
my
considered
my
best
armor.
bang for buck in terms of like price to protection. There are like
Yeah.
much more elaborate armors that do better things, but they cost more in resources and therefore are sold for like quite a lot of money. By the way, these magic items, they have like a time, they have like a sell by date on them. Basically, once you
Okay.
start using them, they might last 4 seasons, so 4 events. And it
Okay.
basically is a little ribbon that you tie onto your weapon. It gets bonded to you by a person, a magic person, and
Okay.
then they last like 4 seasons, and then you have to make a new one or buy
Okay.
another one.
Is that 4 seasons that I attend or 4
Nope,
seasons?
4 seasons in the game.
Okay. So these are going to be one use for me this year.
Or you can
Yeah.
sell them, or after the battle, and they've got 3 seasons left, and you can make quite a lot of money off them.
Yeah.
And then just do another one for the next year. It's quite a good way to make money, actually, as your character, to do it that way.
Yeah. Okay. So some of them say I can use my downtime to craft new ones, can't I?
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. You put resources in the bank at the end of the event, and then you use those resources in between events to craft the weapons.
Yeah.
Because some of them take like
Okay.
2 seasons to make, or a season to make, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but so like Warrior's Plate is called Warrior's Plate, but it could be any heavy armor. It doesn't need to be plate, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's much
So I've got the
like bill that I think does cleave, or it have to be a bill. It can be a spear or a partisan or whatever. It's just a two-handed weapon with it.
Okay. So, um, so I've chosen Warrior's Plate and Apprentice's Sword.
Now, one
Because
thing I'm not entirely sure on here. Back and change this if it turns out to be different. You can just go to email them or whatever, and they'll change your stuff for you. I'm not sure if these are the items that you start with, or if they're the items that you're able to make kind of on a permanent basis if he has the resources.
okay, let's have a look. Yeah, that's a good point. It's in the I don't know.
Sorry, this is where I'm supposed to help you, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. So
Even though I've played this game for like 8 years or something, there's still areas of the game. It's very expansive. There's still play the character that is part of, so I just don't have much idea about it. Because
yeah,
the game that I've always enjoyed within Empire has been the military command side of things, and the role play, kind of the personal role play that doesn't require skills, if that makes sense. The cultural role play stuff, I've enjoyed both of those things. So stuff like the mechanics of the religion game or the Magic game,
Yeah.
I've never really actually. I don't lose anything from my game by not being clued up on that.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason, like you said earlier, people get into completely different reasons, or into LARP in general, and be different kind of things they might find interesting. Like I mentioned him, Dave, who plays Dayalaf. He's incredibly good at maths and kind of organization, and his whole thing is that he's built a massive trading kind of company within the game and is earning loads of money. I haven't got the first clue about how to do that well, but it's his mind is good at that, and that's the game he enjoys, so he just does that. And again, it creates this collaborative experience where everyone contributes their own little bit to the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's it is a bit intimidating.
it is
Like
daunting. It is daunting. I think you've got to kind of think of it as if it's like a real world that you're getting in,
Yeah.
you're going to, and there are massive areas of the real world and bits of culture in the real world that I just have no idea about, and that kind of makes the world feel bigger and more interesting. There are mechanic stuff that you can learn. I mean, this stuff that we're doing here is like Nick said, you can go to the refs and change it if it's not right. The whole point of that mechanic in the game of like you can just go and change it after your first event is because it means that this time of building your character isn't so high stakes. So just pick
Yeah.
a few things, find out in game if they are the right thing, and if they're not, it's no big deal. You can just get them changed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, leave those two there, and let's leave the rest then.
Okay.
And
Oh,
I must select the territory my resources in. Okay.
Oh, okay. Personal resource. So it's at the
Here
top.
we are.
Yeah. So basically, within Wintermark, there are, I believe, 3 territories now.
Yeah.
We used to have 4. The way the game started is that every territory is one that was like captured by the enemy. So like a past territory that
Okay.
needed to be recaptured in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Smart has Calavesa, which is the ancestral home. You've got Hanmark, which is the kind of ancestral home of the Steiner, and then you've got
Yeah.
and the Summer Suak, which is the ancestral home of the Suak. Now,
Okay.
you don't have to be a Suak if you're from Summer Suak. For example,
Yeah.
the Aishlings Hall is a primarily Steiner hall, but
Yeah.
it's based in Calavesa because it has
Okay.
access to the gullet, which is the only route to the sea, and we're far traveling mercenaries, and a lot of us have ships,
Okay.
which is very odd for kind of winter markers aren't really seafaring people so much. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it
Um,
would make sense to me if I'm going to be with you guys,
mhm.
then I probably come from the same place that you guys do.
That's an
So
option, or I mean, we travel a hell of a lot, so it could make sense that you are kind of getting eager to leave your hometown or village, and we passed through, and you thought those guys are cool. That's good. You know, maybe I can ask if I can go with
mhm.
them and come with them on travel to Anvil.
Yeah.
And that could be a reason why you're with us, even if you're not like officially an Aishkling initially, because we talked about that
Yeah.
before. You know, it's
Yeah.
our hall regularly accepts guests for a few events, and then it's basically an excuse out of character for people to bring along friends or new people to LARP, and they can come and they can be part of the hall and the group on a kind of temporary basis to see if they like the game without having to be kind of tied to the group long term.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stick with Calavesa,
Mm-hmm.
even if we decide I was somewhere else before. If that's where my armoring workshop currently resides,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I do like your idea of maybe because there was a. Were you guys involved in the battle with that really big battle that happened against the Blue Sun,
The Cold Sun.
the Cold Sun?
Yeah, we've been. Yeah, that's I think where my military unit has been in downtime has
Yeah.
been there.
Okay. Well, maybe my village. There were a few villages that were kind of wiped out as the Cold Sun swept past. So maybe that that's reason for my guy to
Yeah, that could be a really good kind of backstory reason for you to be with us. There's
follow
some
you guys
cool,
home.
yeah, there's some cool. Each of the territories has its own cool kind of like geographical lore that's there. So Calavesia is very like swampy. So in
Okay.
terms of being an artisan, you could be getting like bog iron and stuff.
Yeah.
As cool kind of just to flesh out the ideas of you know, your workshop and stuff. It's kind of people aren't
Yeah.
really going to ask you about it, but it's good to flesh it out for your own.
It
You know,
it helps me to think about the character.
yeah.
Matt
And
says,
your houses on
"Will I
still.
be making a video about Empire when I attend?" I will. But so there's no. You're not allowed to be taking videos when time is called. So
Mhm.
when the event's actually happening. But I will be there a bit earlier, and yeah,
Yeah, if you get
I'll
down
def
on the Thursday, if that's possible, a lot of people are kind of there out of character.
Yeah.
And then on the Friday before time in as well, like you can. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone in the Hastings would be happy to have like some film taken of us if you. I'm not going to
Cool.
hold you to that, but you know,
Yeah.
there's potential there for little bits.
Yeah, cool. And then we can definitely do follow up and talk about my experiences afterwards. So I'm in Calavesa. I have a business. I've got some items, but I haven't chosen all of them. And here we are.
Mhm.
So my name. So you guys in Wintermark, you kind of have your actual name and your um
There's like a given name, it's like a bardic name.
yeah.
So if your character achieves a certain heroic act in a scop, or which is kind of like the in-game the word they've chosen for like a bard or a storyteller. Um, if the scop um, sees that heroic act, he or she may choose to give you your character a name. We quite like to do that in character because we've got a few scops in the group and they like to have. I think it's also a really cool experience for people to have their name kind of earned and given in character.
Yeah.
We have, it's one of my favorite bits of the whole game, sending characters, and it's some of the like often at Empire people can be so busy with like doing their characters jobs that they don't get time to like sit and role play the culture.
Yeah.
And this in particular is something that in the Age Kings we try and do, is we try and have like evening kind of gathering of the hall where we do role play cultural stuff. So for example, the ceremony where we name someone, I don't really want to spoil it for you, but it involves everyone else telling their naming stories. So
Okay.
your story's been given to you by the Scop and he tells the story of how you've been named, then like you can embellish that and tell it however you want. You can kind of craft your own telling of the story. You can sing it, you can tell it in poetry, you can act it out or whatever. You can figure out a way to tell your character's naming story, and then when the next person gets named, you get the opportunity to kind of showcase that, and it's a really cool sharing of everyone's creativity, which I really love.
Nice. Cool.
So
So
you
what
can mention ready.
one of my key memories from my jousting career was when I was knighted, um, as it were. So I yeah, I feel like that's my name is something that I want to earn rather um,
Yeah,
than choose. It
it's
is possible to choose that you're already like of that position, but I've
Yeah.
come up with this character as someone who is searching for their name rather than already has it.
Yeah, so
So
we also kind of out of character the Scott, Sean, who plays the Scott Valkahainen, he will normally like double check out of character if the person is like okay with the name,
okay,
just if he feels like that person might be sensitive about it or might be
yeah,
precious. If he thinks it's a particularly good name, he might just roll with it and then
okay.
but he's pretty good with
So,
names. Pretty good with names.
okay. So my name is Eardred, just plain Eardred,
Nice.
which is kind of, so that actually shows a little bit that my character is more based on the Rohan vibe than on the Anglo-Saxon vibe.
Yeah.
That's the in Rohan, the Eardred is the name of one of the units in the Rohan army. But yeah, that's my name in this.
Nice.
Archetypes.
So
So this doesn't go on.
really have any mechanical like purpose in the game, and I don't think the archetypes that are available are fully encompassing of all the things you can be in the game.
Hmm.
So for example, my character is like a military captain, so the only one that really fits with that is Bannerman, even though I don't carry a banner, or banner
Okay.
bearer, even though I don't carry a banner.
Yeah.
So they're kind of broad strokes areas of the game, and they don't
So if I
think mechanically.
choose Runesmith, because
That sounds
I'm
perfect
making,
for an artisan.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And then a tradition. Well, we've already talked about that. That's Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
Lineage.
So lineage
That's
is,
whether or not you wear pointy ears and stuff, isn't it?
yeah. So lineage is like in the magical side of the game, there are different realms, which are kind of like, I guess, like different dimensions,
Mm.
or different kind of planes of existence, and like summer, autumn, night, day, and all the magic in the world is kind of drawn from these different realms. So like,
Yeah.
and there are certain characters that have been kind of touched by this magic at a certain point in their life, and they might be kind of, so for example, if you're touched by spring magic, don't quote me on this because I might be getting some of this wrong, but this is my understanding. If you're touched by spring magic, you might become a briar, or you might be born a
Yeah.
briar, and briars have like bark that if scar, the scar comes back as bark, so they're kind of like wood. I think it's like the spring and the wood, the growing kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You get like changelings who have like antlers and pointy ears, and they're very, and they come along with like a set of role play effects. So some of them might be very like stubborn, or they might have like difficulty expressing emotions, like
Hmm.
Draugr, like kind of like pale, washed out, and they are very like somber, generally
Yeah.
speaking. Or changelings with their antlers might be very bold and brash.
Okay.
So yeah, they're kind of, the easiest one to do is just human. There's less stuff to think
So that would
about.
be no lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Standard.
So it's the easiest one to do, and it's the least to think about, and you don't have to make props for it
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with that.
Mhm.
I don't want to have to make holes in my helmet now that it's made for horns and things.
Yep.
Okay, groups. So you may choose to start in a banner, a coven, or a sect. Do not select a banner, coven, or sect without agreeing with the player who runs the group first. So, um, so this would be where I would maybe choose to join the Aeskelings,
Yeah, that's under the banner. So
but
coven is a religious thing, and sect, I believe, is a magical thing. But
yeah,
banner is the group that. So you can join the Aishlings there if you like. Basically, it just means that you can be bonded to our banner that does magical effects, or
okay,
or it means also we can see if you booked on, because Sean and I are kind of like group admins, if that makes sense.
So even though from a character point of view, I'm not yet a full flow member, it's probably worth me doing that right now. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we have occasionally people will just join and pick us anyway, and then we never see or hear of them in game. It doesn't really mean anything, I don't
Okay.
think, technically.
Are
But
you the Ace Wings?
maybe,
Hmm.
or it might just be Aishlings. We might not even be on there. I don't even.
Well, I know you guys.
It's an AE, like an Ash, like the
Yeah.
AE is connected. We should be there.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it in the drop down here. Am I looking at the wrong one?
Are you in Banner?
Banner.
You should be in Banner.
So there's only one A at the top.
It might have made it like a private group. I don't really know the mix of it. Either way.
Well, that's something we can deal with later anyway.
Yeah,
we don't need to do it right now. Character questions. What are your character's main in-character goals? Have you earned a name from a SCOP? No, I have not. My character's main goals is to get a name from to earn a name from SCOP. Haven't. All right, not yet. Let's be positive. Dot dot dot. And the background of my character, I may submit up to 2,000 characters of personal background from your character. I understand that this basically no one reads this. This is just for me to store my own thoughts, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think very occasionally, like PD will, if there's like some very specific thing that's happened that involves your character, PD might like look at this stuff if there's like plot related specifically to you, but it's never happened to me, and I don't think it really happens to many people.
Yeah, there's a lot of
basically,
characters.
yeah, I would not write 2,000 characters on your, like, it's a bit of a waste of time, I think. But if you are just trying to collate your thoughts, it's a good thing to do.
Okay. Well, I might do that another time, but it is 9:45, so I'm just going to click save character here.
That'll do.
And my character now exists.
There you go.
Look at him, Eardred. There we go. Empire character has been successfully saved. I've spent all of my points. Yeah, so I've got my apprentice's blade, warrior's plate, and artisan's oil. So I should probably get yeah, there we go. Oh, so this is these are items that I can make.
There you go. Okay. So you can
it
learn
says
a couple more.
I can learn other ones.
Yeah. Okay.
There are
so
2 more that I can learn. Okay.
If in your basically you could leave those blank and I mean, I know you're in the Discord for our group and ask on there what like magic items are useful, and the people who know will tell you, or you can just look through the wiki and pick ones that you think would be cool. It's however you want to do it, really.
Well, I'll have a look at that. Well, yeah, brilliant. That's good to know that it's not ones that I necessarily need to use. It's ones that I can make for other people. And we have another artisan in the chat. It's Red Fighter Productions, is also an artisan from Wintermark. So I know I do know Red Fighter from the Wintermark Discord. So we'll be able to chat and find out. I'll get a bit more info on that particular side of the game from him. Isaac, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, thanks to everyone else who's joined us. Thank you if you've joined us later on. It's been quite a long one tonight.
Yeah. Sorry, I
but
can talk a bit.
that's fine. That's good. It's one of the things about this is just actually making videos for a channel can be quite time consuming, but also it's very like you just do it by yourself. It's just you in front of a camera, and just having 1 week a month where I get to chat to some friends while making a video instead of just doing it all by myself and editing it all by myself is just it's nice. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for helping me. Guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your ideas. If if you think we've made a big mistake, then let me know. If you've got some ideas for Eardred and how I can work recent events in Wintermark into my background, then leave a comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video, and I'll see Isaac. Well, we chat relatively commonly about LARP stuff, so I'll see you soon as well. Bye, guys.